right, good morning and welcome everybody to what will be the 16th SunSpec Alliance annual member meeting. A couple of housekeeping items before we get started. Want to let you all know that this meeting is being recorded and that the meeting is being ran with an open mic. So we do ask that you keep yourself on mute and your cameras off to keep background noise to a minimum. After this session, after this meeting, the recording and the deck will be distributed to all attendees and registrants. Now let's go ahead and get into it. So first of all, introducing some introductions. Welcome everybody. My name is Dylan Tanzi. I'm the Executive Director of the SunSpec Alliance. I'm coming up on 11 years with SunSpec and my third year as the Executive Director of the SunSpec Alliance. We got a lot of exciting stuff to go through with you today. This annual member meeting is our opportunity to give both the members and non-members an opportunity to learn about SunSpec, its history, our operations, everything that we're working on, and just give a general organizational level update to all of our stakeholders. So thank you so much for your attendance and participation here today. I also want to say thank you to our board of directors, Jan Rippengale of Blue Banyan, Tom Tanzi of DER Security Corp, is the chairman of the board for the SunSpec Alliance, Larry Trong of T-Mike, Hannes Knopf of SMA, and our newest board member, Mark Ortiz of Schneider Electric. Mark Ortiz just joined the board of directors just this year, so that's our newest face on the board. So thanks, Mark, for joining us and for your support. For today's agenda, I'm going to start us off with the plenary session, giving you all an update, an organizational update on SunSpec Alliance, of what everything that's been going on here in 2025 and over the years as well. Sam and Aaron will do a deeper dive into all the various activities on the marketing and content and membership and global adoption that have been going on here in 2025. Kudrat will be providing a software and technology update. There's been a lot of exciting updates to the SunSpec dashboard technology that's included with SunSpec membership that many of your organizations have or are currently using. There's been a lot of software development here in 2025 that we're excited to give you updates on and get you up to the latest version. We'll take a short break and then we'll come back with a presentation from the chairman of the board, Tom, looking ahead at the future activities and standards development efforts that we'll be looking to and working on in 2026 and beyond, along with a presentation and a member spotlight on 23.5 and a blog post that just came out yesterday. I will provide the link to that with Sneha and John from Uplight, which is a member of the company. And this is a chance for you all to learn more about the ongoing use cases, applications, and development around 23.5 and the opportunity to spotlight some of our members and their activities. And finally, we'll be wrapping up at around noon today. So without further ado, we've got a lot to get through, so let's go ahead and dive in. So I'm going to start at a very high level to orient you all around SunSpec Alliance and who we are, what we are. So to start with, what we are is a nonprofit trade alliance, a 501c6. We're for the benefit of the industry consortium. So we're supported by a community of contributing members from around the globe. And so we're not a charity, but we are a for the benefit of the public trade alliance. We were formed in 2009. We've published more than 50 open, royalty-free communication specifications. We got started as a de facto making standards organization back in 2009, but over time, we've been written into and included in multiple national, international grid codes in the US, in India, Canada, Poland, Denmark, and Australia, and others, and where we're not included in national grid codes used predominantly and supported by manufacturers in virtually every country in the world. We have a rigorous certification program to validate compliance to various standards and protocols that we publish. We've issued 200 certifications to this point, which covers more than 2,000 individual product SKUs. So that's an exciting milestone for us to have such broad support and compliant devices out available on the commercial market. We're supported by 2 commercially available test software providers that we'll talk about a little bit later on, and a global network of 14 authorized test labs who provide testing for compliance testing for the various SunSpec communication protocols. So our reason for being, the reason SunSpec exists at all, is to grow the DER industry. That is the core nugget, the core goal at the heart of why we exist. The way that we do that is we define open communication and interoperability standards. And we do this at multiple levels. At the very foundation of SunSpec, when we first got started, it was specifically at the device level with the standard SunSpec Modbus. That was the founding standard for SunSpec to enable devices within a DER system to communicate with each other and be interoperable. The kind of founding challenge that we saw when SunSpec got started was having to write custom drivers for every single inverter or device that you wanted to integrate with. And each of these devices were communicating the same functions, the same data, but in slightly different ways that required custom development and integration. So SunSpec Modbus was developed to provide a standard way of communicating the same things that everybody is already communicating and enable programmatic interoperability at the device level. Keeping that same mission or orientation in mind of enabling programmatic interoperability, we scaled up and evolved over time to also focus at the system and also to the grid level interoperability with protocols like IEEE 23.5, and also recently with the Society of Automotive Engineering standards that incorporate SunSpec standards like SAE J3072 and 3068. And then also finally, recently in the last few years, through a Department of Energy contract, we worked on the Orange Button Initiative, which is an application level data standards for normalizing the data that gets generated through the normal operations and development and installation of a DER system. So these are the apps, the software apps to enable data portability between the various apps that are used throughout a asset lifecycle, with the ultimate goal of having the data be transportable and usable by financial institutions, where the impetus of this project was that an estimated 30% of the financing costs of a DER system comes from data normalization. And so also finally at the global level, working with nation states to institute the support for these protocols at a national grid code level. We do this by engaging directly with stakeholders throughout the value chain, with the integrators, asset owners, manufacturers, the biggest component of our membership base that Erin will get into in her portion, with the grid operators, policymakers, and regulators. And by engaging with all these stakeholders to advance the support of these standard communication protocols, the impact that we're able to deliver is lowering costs, increasing the speed to market, improving the quality, product quality, and grid services quality. Also, standardization enables innovation by having standard, for example, having standard communication protocols. We're able to support automation in the testing process. One of the biggest time constraints or time commitments that are required to be able to connect and qualify for doing business wherever you are in the world. So bringing testing time down, both in-house and with your test labs. And also unlocking new revenue streams and business models. This is what you're getting when you're networking up all these various DER systems and enabling smart inverter-based resources. You're opening up new revenue streams and opportunities. We'll hear about that as well in the Uplight member spotlight on 23.5. And all in all, what this does is bring us more better profitable businesses that grows the overall pie, the overall size of the global DER market. So this is why we exist, is to grow the DER industry, and that's how we do it. Now, what I'd like to do next is take you quickly through the kind of history of the SunSpec Alliance. This is a topic that we don't often get the opportunity to discuss with members, prospective members. We're often very narrowly focused in on the individual use case or application implementation of one of these standards. So I want to just quickly take you through the history of the SunSpec Alliance and how we got from where we started to where we are today. So starting in 2009 with the early formation and partnerships of the SunSpec Alliance. So like I said, SunSpec was founded in 2009 with 16 founding members with the, like I already alluded to, the goal of standardizing the Modbus interface for devices and systems to bring down the cost of integration. So immediately the SunSpec Modbus work group was founded to tackle that use case. And we also established partnerships with the Zigbee Alliance and SEP 2.0, where we developed the Smart Energy Profile 2.0, which coincidentally actually laid the seeds very early on in our existence to the creation of IEEE 2030.5, another one of our flagship standards that SunSpec supports. So very early on, SunSpec contributed the work that we were doing on standardizing the device interface to this initiative that laid the foundations for the creation of IEEE 2030.5 and the DER use case with the Common Smart Inverter Profile, and established our commitment to interoperability. In the following period, we continued to work on standardization and scaling up our membership base and certification programs. And so one of the first things we did as the SunSpec Modbus standard was in development, with developing the inverter interface first, the 100 series smart inverter SunSpec Modbus models. We ran our first plug fest in the 2011 and 2012 with about 23 companies that were early adopters to really kind of just prove out that using this standard worked and that you could facilitate programmatic interoperability between devices and Modbus clients. And this resulted in our first batch of certified products, just supporting the initial common model and the first couple 100 series models. In 2013, we completed work on the foundational 100 series inverter models and published the SunSpec Modbus inverter model description, laying out in plain English the functions and application and use of these initial foundational models. And again, industry adoption implementation continued on an ad hoc and voluntary basis at this phase. Next, we continuing always to focus on interoperability and expansion. So actually, this is the time frame in 2015 when I joined the Alliance as the membership director, and we started to engage quite a lot in California Energy Commission projects, where we were prime contracting on multiple projects to supplement our income and our cash flow, and also prove out the use case that you could integrate higher levels of DER systems, greater penetration, if you have smart inverters that are dynamically controllable, and also proving out that the protocols that we had developed were interoperable with various other common communication protocols at that time, forming a complete kind of network and mapping of the DER system to utility and grid operator communication. We also, through these various public grants, began work on developing supporting software, test software, to support implementation and testing, as well as evaluating cybersecurity risk and solutions. And at this phase, I just marked this down because I remembered off the top of my head. We were at about, in 2015 when I joined, about 50 members and 25 product lines certified. So that's just kind of a benchmark for where we were at that point, 5 or 6 years into the growth of the SunSpec Alliance. So like I said, at this phase, we were really doing proof of concept through these various public grants with the CEC to subsidize membership in the alliance and prove out the application and use case of these protocols. Now, in 2016 to 2018, we started to see a shift where SunSpec standards were beginning to be incorporated into various national grid codes and standards, and saw significant technical advances as well. So starting from the top, we had the Orange Button Initiative. This was, like I said, a Department of Energy contract where we began work on data normalization at the application level. So that was another way we were continuing to advance the standardization effort and subsidized membership. We also saw the beginning of the rollout of California Rule 21, phase 1 at this time frame, and the requirement for UL 1741 SA, where autonomous functions were required. As many of you know, now we're at UL 1741 SB, but we had this interim period for to do business in California and comply with Rule 21. UL 1741 SA was required, and so we were quite heavily engaged in that. We also saw investment in cybersecurity at this point, another Department of Energy contract with the Cyber Guardians program, where we developed training programs for veterans and for others to fill vital positions, developing these systems in a secure way. And we also saw, with Rule 21, as well as in IEEE 1547 2018, where these standards, SunSpec Modbus and IEEE 23.5, which had been incorporated in Rule 21 with the Common Smart Inverter Profile, were being written into the U.S. National Interconnection Standard IEEE 1547. So this is one of the first cases in California and in 1547 where we started to see mandatory support for interoperable communication protocols. And so this led into a shift for SunSpec. As support for SunSpec standards became mandatory, we focused on developing the necessary resources and tools to support broad commercial adoption and ensuring high quality compliance criteria and evaluation and certification models, essentially. And also developing critical infrastructure to support the broad rollout of these standards. So at this phase, we established the 23.5 public key infrastructure that was established in 2019. We completed our first CSIP certification. So I breezed past this with the release of CSIP, the Common Smart Inverter Profile, from the California Smart Inverter Working Group. SunSpec at the same time developed the test procedures required for validating compliance to CSIP. And so there was a long run-up time between when CSIP and the CSIP test procedures were finalized to the first commercial adoptions and the first implementation of CSIP and that culminated in our first certification with OpenUGrid in 2019 as phase 2, where CSIP became required, went into effect in 2020. So a long kind of slow buildup here in this period of time to where support was actually, the standards had been developed and support was actually required. At the same time, we developed the advanced DER models, the 700 series DER models that superseded the 100 series models, the inverter models, in order to support the functionality mandated in IEEE 1547. And so 1547 had been completed in 2018, and then there was this delay where we had to wait for UL 1741 SB to be finalized and ratified before compliance could be evaluated. And that UL 1741 SB is the mark that manufacturers need to get in order to comply with 1547. And so we worked away on the 700 series models and released them concurrently with UL 1741 SB so that manufacturers could immediately begin work on implementing and achieving compliance to 1547 and 1741 SB. In this time frame, we also developed the rapid shutdown standard released in 2021 to support the National Electric Code 2017 rapid shutdown requirements, and continued to champion the overall communication framework that we saw emerging at this time of a 2030.5 wide area network established with communicating with the SunSpec Modbus gateway. So this formed the completion of the whole vision of the whole chain of communication from the grid operator down to the device level. And then finally, the modernization feature. This is the current kind of phase that we've been in. So the end of 2022, beginning of 2023, that was when I became the executive director of the SunSpec Alliance, and we spun off the software that we've been developing through the various public grants into a separate company, because as a nonprofit trade alliance, we were not in a good position to continue the development and maintenance of software. And it was important for the industry that that software continue to be progressed. And we refocused and recommitted ourselves, we recommitted and refocused ourselves into with the mandatory requirements to support the standards and adopt and have compliant communication interfaces, to be completely focused on the support of our members and our manufacturers as they adopt and implement the protocols. So at this phase, we stopped doing our public grants and research projects and began a new phase of being fully supported by membership, annual memberships, and product certification, and developing tools and resources to make these implementations easier and higher quality, while also bringing down, executing careful cost controls as we reduce our funding from outside sources and attempted to increase our support through memberships and through certifications. So that's what we've been doing for the last few years, is supporting our members as they strive for 1547 compliance and certification. We've also done a little bit of standards development on the cybersecurity side with developing the 2023 and 2024 device cybersecurity standards. Also recently, just in this past year, we went from the de facto standard certification body for California Rule 21 and CSIP, and was officially recognized as the official testing and compliance pathway for Rule 21 with CSIP. And now in this most recent year in 2025, we've again, as we spent 2 years just really focused on supporting the manufacturers, engaging more with outside organizations like the SAE that have been incorporating these important protocols and standards, and pushing forward the Orange Button initiative as well, with the formation of the Orange Button Alliance, which is we spun off the Orange Button standard into a 501c3, a charity, in 2024 that enables them to take in larger infusions of cash in order to support software developers as they develop applications and use cases using the Orange Button standard. And finally, just in this final year in 2025, in this period, we've been pushing forward with more international adoption of these standards, with India just in the last 9 months announcing their adoption of 1547. Australia has really leapfrogged and pushed ahead of California with their adoption and deployment of 2030.5, and also recently expanding into the EU with more engaging with the regulators and researchers as they are moving forward now with 2030.5 as well. So this most recent phase of SunSpec, we've really been focused in on supporting the manufacturers adopt and implement the standards, and in this most recent past year, now broadening our horizons and looking at new use cases and applications. And over the course of this, moving from a de facto standards making organization to being written to national grid codes, we've seen adoption and rollout from many countries. North America with 1547, Australia has had significant adoption with 23.5 and actual deployments of it as well. India, the most recent adopter, official adopter with 1547, and a wide variety of other countries. Actually, interestingly, Poland in the last few years adopted SunSpec Modbus, and that has been a nice little driver for business here as well, and driver for SunSpec certification as well. Now, we're going to start focusing in a little bit on where we are now, providing you all with the short financial update where we are as an organization. Like many of you, 2025 was a year of necessary change. Looking at the development nationally and locally here in the U.S. Overall, membership and certification revenue was down about 10%. This is largely due to it appears that CSIP certification is finally slowing down. That business was really chugging along for a long time, and it continues to be the most common type of certification that we provide. But it does appear to be slowing down a little bit, and also the Chinese membership is down this year for reasons I imagine you can all understand. So what we've been doing is focusing in on executing a strategy of improving the service quality, developing new standards, particularly here in 2025, that'll unlock new revenue streams for us. Looking at market expansion through engaging at the higher level with regulators and policymakers, and implementing strict cost controls. So improving the overall quality of the service delivered, and bringing our overall cost down. You're going to hear all about this, all the activities that we've done. We've invested heavily in outreach and influence through our marketing and improving the overall membership experience. So some examples of that is we've released a streamlined website here in 2025. We've been in 2025 working on developing new standards and applications for our, well, not new standards, but new specifications in the various subject matters like SunSpec Modbus, where we've released just last week and approved a secure SunSpec Modbus specification. And in 2025, we'll be releasing and standing up a associated public key infrastructure to support that new standard. We've also developed a SunSpec Modbus client certification program. This has been a gap that's existed for quite a while, where our certification efforts on the SunSpec Modbus side have been focused on the device side, SunSpec Modbus servers, and SunSpec Modbus clients you've been able to create those from the beginning, but we haven't had a solid consensus-based program for validating compliant a common support of common implementation for a Modbus client and a validation program. So that was also finalized, the testing program compliance criteria, just last week. We're also expanding into the V2G area. There's various IEEE 23.5 profiles that have been released. So we finalized the SAE J3072 23.5 profile, and in 2026, we'll be working on the ISO 15118 23.5 profile. And also the CSIP 3.0 test procedures. I already alluded to that. SunSpec was officially chosen by the CPUC to lead the development of the CSIP test procedures, where before it was voluntary. Now we are the official body to develop and maintain the CSIP test procedures. And with all that, I'm happy to say that in Q4 we achieved break even. So looking now to the SunSpec team, this is who we are. If you've ever spoken with us, it's one of these four people that you've spoken to. Kudrat Kaur, our lead software engineer, myself, the executive director, Sam Reed, VP of Operations and Content, who you'll be hearing from next, and Aaron Mahan, VP of Membership and Regulatory Affairs, who you'll be hearing from after Sam, to do a deeper dive on some of these topics that I've already alluded to. Organizationally, looking at how we operate, we are supported by SecureG, our public key infrastructure provider for 23.5 as well as they will be our infrastructure provider for SunSpec Modbus. We work with a website developer, ESEO. DER Security supports and maintains SunSpec dashboard for us. And PSK is our accounting firm that we work with. This is our kind of internal resources of how we operate. With that infrastructure in place, we provide a wide variety of resources and services to our members. That includes SunSpec Dashboard, a piece of software that Kudrat will show to you after Aaron, and going over the 2025 updates. A variety of certification programs. The AHJ registry, which came out of the Orange Button Initiative, that is another resource that's freely available through the web portal, and members of the Alliance are able to have access to it over API as well. SunSpec Express Test, which is an online testing service for SunSpec Modbus certification. SunSpec Academy, a series of online courses that those are available for purchase to non-members and free for members of the Alliance. And the SunSpec PKI, I already alluded to. The SunSpec Support AI, which is a AI tool that Sam's put together in the past 16 months or so. That's fully trained on the SunSpec models. And of course, the team itself is a resource. We've done everything we can to streamline the service delivery for our members so you can access all these resources online without needing to talk to somebody. But the team here is at your disposal as well. So I always welcome to any reach out and eager to speak on the phone, one-on-one, face-to-face with our members as well. So looking more outward, we have a network of authorized test tool providers. DER Security and Quality Logic are two commercially available test tools that provide platforms for performing SunSpec certification for both SunSpec Modbus and IEEE 23.5 and CSIP interfaces. Continuing outward, we have this network of authorized test labs. So we have labs located all over the globe that offer SunSpec compliance and certification testing. I also want to give a special shout out to our these companies who have achieved SunSpec Modbus for 1547 certification. Now, this has been an ongoing challenge for the industry with 1547. More than 80% of manufacturers use SunSpec Modbus to comply with 1547. But what we've seen is that without getting SunSpec Modbus certified, that none of them are actually interoperable. Now the challenge arises because 1547 says you must support the protocol. It does not say you must get certified. And so it is essentially a voluntary extra step manufacturers can take. And this is a problem because many, as you can see, this isn't a huge number here. The majority of manufacturers haven't gotten certified and are therefore not interoperable. We've seen this in lab testing with SB certified devices that are not SunSpec Modbus certified. None of them are interoperable. So I want to give a special recognition to these organizations who have taken the step of getting SunSpec Modbus for 1547 certified, and encourage everybody to look to these companies for leadership. These are the companies that actually do offer interoperable products that are 1547 and UL 741 SP certified. As far as the standards development efforts that we've had going on in 23.5, we've had two work groups that have been active in 2025. The first one I'm going to highlight here is the SunSpec 23.5 Test Procedures Work Group. This is led by Steve Kang, the general manager at Quality Logic. And this is the area, or this is the work group where the CSIP test procedures are being updated. CSIP itself needs to be updated because the underlying standard, IEEE 23.5, was revised in 23.5 and in 2023, sorry. And CSIP is based on the 2018 version of 23.5. So CSIP is being revised in an IEEE committee to update support for the 2023 version. And the test procedures are being developed in this work group with Steve Kang and in the SunSpec 23.5 test procedures work group. So this work group is actively meeting right now. We're working on this right now. We are also taking this opportunity to develop test criteria for a variety of other 23.5 profiles beyond just CSIP. We have other 23.5 profiles like a metering profile, some B2G profiles, and more. So the IEEE committee and standards making process is quite lengthy, and we can't finalize the CSIP test procedures until CSIP is finalized. So I do anticipate we'll have multiple interim releases of test procedures for, like I said, the metering profile, the VDG profile, and also the CSIP Oz profile as well, culminating finally with a single test 23.5 test procedures document covering a wide variety of 23.5 profiles. In addition, the SunSpec Modbus work group has been very active this year, and just this last week, we finalized and approved updates or the release of 5 SunSpec Modbus specifications. On the SunSpec Modbus device specification and test procedures, we made some small updates to the one section related to timing of how quickly a device needs to be able to read back after applying or setting a change. And we also finalized the results reporting specification now that we had multiple commercial test tools supporting SunSpec Modbus. But the biggest, most important new releases are the secure SunSpec Modbus specification and SunSpec Modbus client test procedures. Both of these specifications cover significant gaps that have existed in the market. The secure SunSpec Modbus specification is based on the Modbus, the modbus.org, Modbus TCP security specification, and includes a couple of additional features that are important for the DER use case in terms of role-based access control, as well as specifying some specific cipher suites to be used. So this is an exciting development that has just been finalized last week, led by Jay Johnson, the CTO of DER Security Corp. And it does appear, although traditionally Modbus is, the local area communication network protocol, that there is an interest and appetite for accessing Modbus interfaces over the public internet, in which case it must be secured. And so this gives us a pathway to ensure security when connecting over the public internet to Modbus interfaces. And like I already mentioned, the SunSpec Modbus client test procedures fills an important gap so that we have a common set of requirements and capabilities that all Modbus clients have. And this really gets us to the endpoint of having programmatic interoperability and also in a secure way when over the public internet. In 2026, we'll be working on the secure SunSpec Modbus test procedures. We've also had requests for developing new models for grid forming, updating the storage models, which has been worked on over the years, and we'll continue and hopefully finalize that in 2026 with to improve the 800 series storage models and enable large-scale modular energy storage applications. And then also the SAE J3068 implementation guide. This is an SAE standard that uses SunSpec Modbus. So just like 1547, we will be working on and developing an implementation guide that specifies specifically which SunSpec models need to be supported and what values and registers within those models must be supported to make it much easier for EV companies and EVSE companies to comply with this regulation. Also coming up in 2026, I've alluded to this, we'll be standing up a PKI to support secure SunSpec Modbus. We'll be continuing to work with our PKI infrastructure provider, SecureG. We've put a down payment on this to begin the work, but we are seeking to raise funds from amongst membership. I encourage any company who intends to enter this area and pursue this use case and revenue stream to reach out to us, and we can get you involved at the ground floor, standing up this PKI, and probably work out some benefits and advantages for you being an early adopter and investor. So please reach out if you're going to be pursuing this type of application or use case. Reach out to us and let us know, and we'll be here to speak with you. In the meantime, as for developers, we are providing free unsecured test certificates as you're developing and implementing your secure SunSpec Modbus interfaces. And actually, Kudrat is going to show you that during her session in a little bit. So with that is the kind of high-level overview of the SunSpec Alliance, who we are, kind of our history, our current infrastructure, and the work that's been going on here in 2026 on the standards development side. And next, I'm going to hand it off to Sam Reed, our VP of Marketing and Content and Operations, to do a deeper dive into all the marketing and outreach activities we've had here in 2025. This has been part of our strategy going forward into 2026 to improve awareness and deliver value to our members. And also, this is a important aspect of membership and lesser utilized benefits of membership, where SunSpec can act as a channel for your own outreach and marketing. So I'm going to pass it off to Sam, who will take you through all the activities and the metrics. I hope that will be able to convince you to connect us with your marketing department and use us in 2026 as a channel for you. I think it's a highly valuable resource for you. So with that, I'm going to stop my share and pass it off to Sam.
Great, thank you so much, Dylan. Can everyone see my screen okay here?
Yes, I can.
All right, great. Well, thanks again for that, Dylan, and welcome everyone to the SunSpec annual member meeting. It's nice to talk to you all. I'm Sam Reed. I'm the VP of Operations and Content here at SunSpec Alliance. I'm just going to unpin Dylan. There we go. And I'm going to be going over with you our 2025 content performance review. Ooh, looks like I've got a bit of a screen share issue here. Give me 1 second. Apologies there. All right. All right, there we go. All right, thanks everyone. So we're going to get into this here. I'll briefly go over what this review covers. So we're going to go over email, website, and social media performance. We're going to go over our webinar impact this year. And we're also going to touch on some upcoming partnerships. And the reason that we're doing that is when I came on about a year and a half ago, these are all areas of performance that we sought to improve. So we really wanted to improve our email campaign performance. We wanted to improve the website performance in terms of site speed, SEO, user friendliness, and some other areas that we'll get into later. And we also wanted to amplify our presence on social media. And moving on from that, we wanted to increase our webinar impact. So you'll see this year when I get into some of the webinar metrics, we were really able to increase the amount of content output viewers that we got this year. And then I'll go into some of the upcoming partnerships that we were able to secure this previous year and moving forward into 26 as well. So in looking at our email performance, you might be thinking, Sam, why are you showing me an email performance snapshot? But it's really multifaceted and benefits both us and our members. So like I said, when I came on just under 2 years ago, our open rate was below industry standard. And we thought, hey, how can we get our open rate back up while sending out more content? So you'll see this year, we were able to actually increase our total number of sends by 20%, increase our open rate by 25.3%, to which is now on average 28%, and lower our unsubscribe rate by 21.5%, which is at now 0.13%, well below the industry standard of 0.2%. And, you know, in looking at, hey, we're going to send even more emails than we have before, but we want more people to open them is sometimes a tall task, especially when you send out more content. Unsubscribes typically go up. But this is really a testament to our team and the content that we put out this year, that we're putting out better content than we ever have before. we're putting it out more often, and people are responding very positively to that. And so the benefit to the members is that when you're partnering with us on webinars and newsletters, if you've got new blogs, testimonials, case studies, whatever it may be, when we're sending out that information to our very large proprietary database, you're getting more eyes on your brand and messaging, and we're able to amplify your brand even more than ever before with SunSpec. So we really see a dual-pronged benefit to this performance increase, not only for us, for our members, as again, you're getting more eyes on your content and branding than you ever have before through email marketing with SunSpec. So another area that we sought to improve was our social media channels. Now, historically, there's a multitude of different social media channels, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, but what we really saw is that our most engagement comes from LinkedIn. And so in putting out even more content and posts from LinkedIn this past year, we really saw our follower count increase. We saw it increase by 17%, which is great for us, and we're obviously going to look to increase that even more in 2026. But one thing that I'm really proud of is that our impressions were up big time in 2025. We had 22,231 impressions on LinkedIn, which puts us in the top 10% of organizations our size. So once again, the benefit to both us and members is that we're putting out even more content around a more diverse set of topics, and that content's getting even more engagement. So these high level of impressions, when we're posting, new member stuff, or that you've been certified, or successful case studies from your behalf, you're getting more people seeing your content on social media when you partner with SunSpec than you ever would have before. So we're really happy to see that, that this increase in content output and the quality of the content output has directly benefited us in a multitude of different metrics, and specifically in the social media, as you can see here. So one thing that I would like to put out to you is know that we're a resource for you as members. If you've got a successful case study with SunSpec implementation, or you've got a certification done, or you've posted a blog, work with me, partner with me, and we can really help amplify your brand and voice in a way that we historically haven't been able to. So, and we're looking to increase that even more in the future. So know that by next year, these numbers should be increased even higher, getting you and your team even more eyes on the content that you'd like to disseminate. So moving on from social media and looking at the website, you might remember last year at the annual member meeting, I talked about we were going to be rolling out an entirely brand new website. And this largely came from, we were looking to see, hey, how can we increase our SEO? How can we increase our look and feel, our user friendliness, and cut costs, right? And that's typically a very tall ask to be able to increase the performance of a website, add features, and reduce costs. So in vetting a bunch of different web developers, we came across one, eSEO Space, that's been a really great partner for us. And we were able to do just that. We were able to cut costs dramatically on our website maintenance while increasing site speed, increasing SEO, increasing the look and feels to be a much more modern look, and increasing just the overall site performance in general, while having a new layer of analytics that we didn't previously have. And one thing I do want to give a shout out is to Mo, our IT guy. He wasn't on the SunSpec team slide there because he's on the back end doing so much stuff. But I just want to say thank you to Mo, who really was super beneficial to myself and to the web developer, and catching all sorts of stuff this year and really helping us with that web development. So just want to give him a shout out there. But so in rolling out the new website, we were able to, again, we have tangible analytics and improving site speed. I didn't want to overwhelm you with too many numbers here and just give you some of the good stuff, but our SEO increased, site performance increased, and just even editing the website of the back end is much easier. And so looking at some of the analytics after this year, with rolling out the new website, we had 24,000 active users in 2025, which again puts us in the top 10% of organizations our size. So we're getting a lot of high traffic to our site, and that, having a newer site that runs better, it's more accommodating to this higher level of traffic. So that was something that we really needed to do by moving our servers, increasing our bandwidth. We've been able to now have a faster site that accommodates more users. And in looking at some of the analytics, one statistic that I thought was really interesting is that we had users from 140 different countries visit the SunSpec website. So we're really seeing our international digital footprint grow exponentially. And another piece to that is we've been doing a lot of different initiatives internationally. Erin, our VP of Membership and Regulatory Affairs, who will speak on her trip to Germany later, she was just there working on all sorts of initiatives. We partnered with India on different webinars, different Indian companies and different webinars on advancing rooftop solar. Obviously, we've had a lot of initiatives in China and Australia, and you can directly see that correlation to our website traffic. So even just within the last 90 days of hosting the webinars partnering with the team in India and Aaron coming back from Germany, we've now seen our top 10 countries who visit the website be the US, Germany, India, China, Australia, the Netherlands, Poland, Austria, United Kingdom, and Canada. And so it's nice to see that we have, tangible metrics to show that our efforts in these areas are working. People from those areas, we're getting a big uptick in traffic, we're getting a big uptick in content ingestion. And so it's nice to see that our efforts are reflected in data that we can see just from the website. So really big push for us in that we've got more users than we've ever had on the website. It's operating better than it's ever had. And we're really expanding our international footprint in terms of who's coming to visit the site. So really a win for us all around, in that we're able to cut costs, improve performance, and have much better analytics and insights into who's consuming our content. All right, moving on and looking at our webinar series, this was another area of improvement that we wanted to see. We wanted to host more webinars. We wanted to have a more diverse amount of content that we presented on. So we hosted 13 webinars this year. You can see them all at the top of the graphic there. And that's the most webinars that we've ever hosted in a year for SunSpec Alliance. So that's a big milestone for us. That's one a month, and we had more unique registrants than we've ever had as well. We had 1,118. We've raised our average attendance and we raised our highest attendance. And just to give you an idea of the diversity of the topics that we covered, in 2025, the webinars, the topics span technical standards, regulatory updates, cybersecurity, DER interoperability, B2G AC evolution, Orange Button finance and data tools, secure SunSpec Modbus, UL 1741 SB implementation, 2030.5 developments, PKI crypto agility, grid integration strategies, and emerging opportunities across the distributed energy landscape. So you can see that's a really wide range of topics that we're covering there, and it really helps position us as a thought leader in these topics. And from your benefit, I mean, we're seeing, because these topics are so broad, our attendance can be from CEOs and founders, to sales teams, product managers, engineers, you name it. We kind of are able to get the full spectrum of, the DER landscape in terms of attendees. We've got a lot of really good engagement and interest in these topics. And again, it's because if you're in a niche area, it seems like this past year we covered it. And what ties into that is, so we're getting more people to attend our webinars ever, and we've improved our sort of production quality of the webinars, our ability to publish them. And so we started to push these more out to YouTube. Before, we would just host the webinars on our website, but obviously, there's a missed opportunity there, as YouTube is one of the most frequented video platforms in the world. And so even just in giving an uptick in sort of revamping our YouTube channel within the last 90 days, we've seen a massive uptick in views and watch time and subscribers. And even just all of your webinars that you've hosted with us, you can go to our YouTube channel and see now that you've got double the amount of views from the attendees that initially attended, because people are going back and they're consuming the content. And so where this ties in as well, right, we're getting more people viewing our channel and interested in our content, which opens up the opportunities for our members to partner with us, which, just to go back to the webinars, again, that's the benefit of partnering with us. You're getting more eyes than you've ever gotten on your content when you partner with SunSpec than in the past. More people are being aware of it through the email campaigns, so more people are being exposed to the webinar content and more people are registering. You subsequently get more people to attend, and then with our better social media promotion, you get more views on YouTube on the back end. So all of these things tie together as a benefit not only for us, but for you. And so in looking at the YouTube channel, we'd love to partner more with people. If you've got videos about successful implementations utilizing SunSpec, or if you'd, again, like to host webinars with us, or if they're just small informational pieces, we'd really love to amplify your voice and brand via our YouTube channel. And as we're getting more engagement from it, you're going to get more engagement as well. All right, and just taking a look at some of our upcoming partnerships here, this was another area that we wanted to expand on. We wanted to have a more physical presence at trade shows, both domestically and internationally. Aaron's been an absolutely great partner in this. And we've got, these are just an example of some of the partnerships that we have coming up. We've done some very cool things this last year in the spring. We participated in the San Francisco Climate Week Hackathon at what was formerly called Port Labs with Arela Barnes and her team with Energy IoT, which was a really cool event. You can go on our website and learn more about that. But moving into next year, we're going to be speaking and partnering with Solar, which is obviously one of the biggest solar conferences in the entire United States. So again, this positions us. We've got a booth in a great spot. We've got a speaking engagement. We've got discounts for SunSpec members or for prospective members to attend. And so this is just, again, helping amplify our brand, our presence, our voice, and help get you, monetary incentives to want to come and do the same for your company. And so this is another thing that's really helping amplify our voice and get more of SunSpec's messaging out there. We're also going to be just the very next week in February, going to be in San Francisco at the EV charging infrastructure. So again, you see, we're covering a lot of topics. We're going to a big all-encompassing solar event, then we're getting a little more granular on topics like EV charging. So again, just positioning us as thought leaders in this space around a multitude of different topics. You also get a 15% discount for attending this as well through SunSpec. And then, expanding internationally into Thailand. We're supporting the ASEAN Smart Energy and Energy Storage Expo in March, which again just opens us up to a broader range of companies that we might not previously have been exposed to, helps get more messaging out there. And again, this is just a thing that I want to kick back to members. You really have a lot of opportunities to work with SunSpec here through increasing the digital footprint, increasing your in-person footprint. We really have a lot of opportunities to partner together, and you can see, the positive metrics that show that, hey, when you do partner with us, you're going to get a lot of exposure, you're going to get your messaging out, and you're going to get people who are coming from a group that's interested in our content. We've taken a long time to really dial in our proprietary contact groups so that when this messaging goes out, it's going out to the right people, and our increase in all of our performance shows that that's the case. We're putting out the right content to the right people. So just to kind of wrap up here on some of the highlights, again, we hosted 13 webinars in 25, which was the most webinars that we've ever hosted. And it was, again, on just a really broad range of topics. We had really great engagement. We had more attendees than we've ever had, and we've had more views on the back end via YouTube than we've ever had, to coincide with more registrants. Our website, looking at the traffic, we had users from 140 different countries. Again, we were able to cut costs and increase performance across the board on the website, so it's a total win there. And again, we have 24,000 active users, which again puts us in the top 10% for a company our size. So, really great work from everyone in the team. And then another big one was shooting up those email open rates. So much of the content that we put out is via emails, and having high unsubs and low open rates just doesn't benefit us or our members. And so we've been able to really dramatically increase the open rates, which, as we've talked, is a win across the board for all the content we put out. So really happy to see that there. And with that, I'll round it out. So, if anyone has any questions, I'll be happy to take them, or if you want, you can always email me later. But again, I'll just say this was a really great year. It was a great year working with the team. We got more content out than we ever had, higher quality content that's being consumed at a higher rate. And we look to do that even more moving into 26. So with that, I'll go ahead and pass it off to Aaron here.
Right. Thank you, Sam. I think I'm coming on camera. Thank you so much. I am going to share my screen. I love hearing that Germany and India are the second and third highest downloaders. That shows me that development is, of course, a concern for downloaders, but so are regulatory and compliance mechanisms. Glad to see our standards are matching our initiatives. So, So I am going to talk to you today about membership and global adoption. I've done a few interesting calculations with our membership base. So we'll get into what our membership base is made of, and we'll also talk about our pipelines for membership. So membership and certification metrics, our opportunities in the future, and global adoption. So that means how SunSpec standards and specifications are gaining momentum and causing conversations worldwide. So Dylan already covered a lot about the SunSpec Alliance, that we have a membership body of about 180 plus members. 30% of them are from Asia, 30% from North America, 30% from Europe, and 10% from the rest of the world. These numbers are changing a little bit. We are seeing a lot more members from Europe, and we are seeing a big body of members from Australia and India because of our work in regulatory affairs there. Our member types include device manufacturers, all the way down to nonprofits as well. And like Dylan mentioned, our certifications cover 2,000 total products. So breaking down membership a little bit further, this year I was asked a lot about what types of categories we have for SunSpec Alliance members. So many of our members cover multiple categories. Maybe that's BESS as well as controls, or controls and EMS solutions, or maybe EV charging and EMS. So I did my best to categorize all of our members into these different categories here. So you can see that the majority of our membership is made up of battery energy storage system providers. Then we have inverters and power electronics companies, manufacturers. And after that, EMS and DER software providers. After that, EV charging infrastructure and EV software providers. That is an increasing group, I must say. In 2025, we have gotten several applications from EV charging and EV software providers. Then we have testing, certification, and compliance bodies who are depending on SunSpec test procedures and specifications to drive the work that they do. And then EPC and grid services and permitting companies. And last, IoT controls, gateways, PLC, and metering. Many of our companies do metering as well as other things, or do controls as well as other things. And I have seen an increase in IoT companies downloading from our website. This year, SunSpec had 22 new memberships. That's less than last year, but this year we had fewer lost memberships. So our renewal rate is doing really great. Last year we had somewhere around 9% or close to 10% lost memberships, and this year it was only 5.8. Our members are across 18 different countries. I've put a map up here. It's not perfectly accurate because we have a lot of members in the American Midwest that aren't showing up on this map. However, you can see that SunSpec membership spans across Europe, across the United States, across Australia, across India, and across China. This year, we awarded 26 certifications, and IEEE 2030.5 and CSIP certifications dominated. This year, ESS Inc. achieved the first SunSpec Modbus from Mesa certification. DER Security Corp certified 3 devices just recently, so keep them on your radar. Our top 3 certified product device types are inverters, clients, and aggregators. No surprise there. Though I think next year we will see more clients being certified as we change the test procedures for SunSpec Modbus. We also had 3,892 product registry views over the last 90 days. This is something I like to emphasize. Our product registry is viewed by utilities, DSOs, regulators, as well as manufacturers around the world, so they can find products that are going to be interoperable, that can be replaced if there's one product in the value chain that fails. And that is a lot of product registry views. That number is astounding and really surprised me. We've got 28 upcoming certifications in the pipeline. So that means 28 products that require certification. Most of them are requiring 2030.5 CSIP certification. Across the upcoming certifications, we also have 5 new countries represented. So there are countries from around the world who would like 2030.5 certification, not only to enter the California market, but also to comply with their own new grid standards. The average number of certifications per company is 1.9. So some companies have 5 certifications and some companies have 1, but our average per company is 1.9. For 2026, our membership pipeline is looking like a lot of rejoin opportunities. We have companies who have worked with us in the past coming back for new certifications and also coming back to join the Alliance now that our ecosystem is bigger than it ever has been. And we can thank Sam's content work for that. We've done an incredible job of expanding our audience to the highest level CTOs and also within different niche environments across the world. We've seen a sharp acceleration in SunSpec membership applications in Q3 and Q4. Of course, I attribute this to a little bit more of a positive attitude about the tariff situation, less fear about what's going on globally for solar subsidies. So I think that is why we saw a sharp acceleration in Q3 and Q4. Our top membership opportunities by company type are a little bit different than our current member body base. The number one membership opportunity by company type is global OEMs and tier 1 suppliers. Number 2, utilities and public power entities. 3, of course, EV charging and mobility platforms. I think I have conversations about V2G AC nearly every day. Number 4, battery and power electronics manufacturers, which dominate our membership at the moment. Number 5, certification, testing, and digital infrastructure firms. So we are seeing more testing bodies come to SunSpec Alliance because they know in the future they will need to test, especially for 2030.5. This year, we had 367 membership conversations. You know what they say, one membership conversation a day keeps the bogeyman away. We have 22 memberships in the pipeline for early 2026. We have an average of 3.8 downloads per new company that visits the page. We have an expected conversion rate of 5 to 8% for those who download our documents multiple times. And we have had 1,093 application page views over the last 90 days. That means people are truly interested in SunSpec Alliance membership, SunSpec Alliance member benefits, and how to gain access to them. So in 2025, we did a lot of expansion in Europe. Europe is looking to adopt IEEE 2030.5 and Modbus standards, and they're doing that in several different ways. So our initial contact in Europe was the Interstore group. Interstore is a Horizon 2020 Europe project. Horizon Europe projects shape what it means, or shape what becomes normal in 5 years in Europe. And I attended their final meeting in Brussels just recently. This attendance helped us position SunSpec as a contributor to Europe's applied research pipeline. And I also got to meet a ton of applied researchers there. I met people from NLX, the EU Commission, Senelec, LF Energy, VDE, DKE, VDE DKE, the German standards body, and the Technical University in Aachen. And there I provided education about SunSpec 2030.5, use cases both in America and also in Australia, and all of the resources that they could possibly need around the global rollout of 2030.5. During the same trip, I also went to the Smart Grids Baden-Württemberg Congress in Fellbach. And this Congress was with the Smart Grids group. We also work with the Smart Grids group in India. So participation in these Smart Grids communities has been essential to SunSpec expanding our regional profile. At the Smart Grids Baden-Württemberg group, I validated that 2030.5 is relevant to the German connectivity needs, and for that matter, also cybersecurity needs. And I also connected with our future project partners at the Technische Hochschule in Ulm. So we will be working with the Technische Hochschule in Ulm this spring. I also learned the language of German regulators and DSOs. And I don't say that lightly. Of course, it goes beyond very long technical phrases and into the ways that German regulators and DSOs are planning for the future, what's important to them. And these things include AI integration, cybersecurity, visibility into devices, and of course, V2G. Coming up, you will see SunSpec at the Light and Building Show in Frankfurt, and that's this March. And we will introduce the KNX Association and SunSpec Modbus mapping project to the European market. You'll hear more details about that soon, but if you're interested in building automation or home energy management systems, please contact me and we can talk about this interesting and exciting new mapping project. We will also be partnering with the Technische Hochschule in Ulm. So SunSpec and DERSEC, we will be in residence in Ulm for several weeks between March and April. If you are in Europe and you would like to have a meeting with SunSpec, or if you would like us to visit your office, please let us know and we will schedule it. We will also attend the Intersolar/Smarter E event in Munich this June. We will exhibit our use cases from all of our work with our European partners there. And on my wish list this year is to exhibit some work with CHARN, the Open Charge Alliance, Everest, EEBus, and IEC national committees. It is my goal to get SunSpec standards written into the IEC standards, as well as to partner with these other open source groups in order to publish SunSpec standards on a broader open source platform. Dylan already mentioned a lot about our Indian and Australian expansions of SunSpec Modbus and 2030.5. I'd like to draw your attention to something you'll hear about very soon. We just published this absolutely beautiful blog post with Uplight about IEEE 2030.5 and its incredible usefulness as a value stack protocol for enhanced grid reliability. So please check that out. We hosted a webinar with the India Smart Grid Forum. Like I said, these smart grid groups are very essential to SunSpec. And through the partnership with the ISGF, SunSpec is aligned with India's national standards regime. So SunSpec Modbus is now formally recognized as IS 18968, which mirrors IEEE 1547. This alignment creates a clear regulatory pathway for IEEE 2030.5 and SunSpec certification in India. We've also been working with CSIP OS profile, CSIP in Australia. You can see in this graphic I have that the Interstore project estimated the IEEE 2030.5 devices installed by region in Australia and Canada. And you can see the Australia region has tons in millions, 3.3 in millions. So by anchoring Australian 2030.5 requirements to our global benchmark, the CSIP OS seeks to reduce compliance cost, mostly for the Australian market, accelerate manufacturer certification, and enable utilities to orchestrate their DER fleets with a predictable, interoperable behavior while maintaining alignment with the international markets. And that's what we want to see happen in Europe as well. Europe can learn a lot from the Australian use case. In 2025, we had some really fun membership highlights. So one of the new things we have is individual memberships. We know that a lot of companies are struggling this year due to closing American markets or otherwise closing branches or consolidating. With individual memberships, you get access to the SunSpec work groups, as well as the AHJ API. So we wanted to broaden access, particularly to the work groups, to make sure that we have the participation that it takes to create these global standards. We also opened our new certification registry. So like Sam mentioned, we did a lot of work on the website, but this new certification registry really stands out to me. Like I said, we get like 1,000+ certification registry views every month. So we wanted to make sure that it was accessible and easier to use. So now we have an easier filtering option, and we also cross-list all of our certifications in the member registry. So it's a new benefit for members that your certifications are listed under your listing in the member registry. And another very exciting development, people have been asking us for this for a long time, and it's finally happening. We will have a SunSpec Modbus dev kit. And this dev kit is a highly demanded tool that will include free and members-only versions. So we expect to release that soon in 2026. Like Sam said, you can ask me any questions you'd like. You can ask them in the chat, or you can email me. Please feel free to talk to me about membership. You can talk to me about your plans in 2026, certification and networking needs, regulatory questions, or just to say hello. All right. And with that, I will turn it back over to you, Dylan.
Great. Thanks, Erin. So next up, what we're going to do is review the SunSpec dashboard and all the updates that have been made in 2025. But before we do that, I just wanted to pause before we get into some of the more technical matter and open the mic up to see if there's any comments or questions at this point in time. And you can feel free to unmute yourself or raise your hand and we can call on you, whatever you prefer.
Dylan, I've got a question for you.
Sure.
I'm curious how we're looking with our test status specifications. Have we already closed the comment period on those? And what are our next steps?
So we made one small update to the SunSpec Modbus test procedures related to how quickly after a write, a register needs to be read back. The important next step on these test procedures is going to be on developing SunSpec Modbus client test procedures. So we just released last week the SunSpec Modbus client. Sorry, this is actually a typo. This should say SunSpec Modbus conformance profile. Next up is the SunSpec Modbus client test procedures.
Great.
So,
I've been getting so many questions about certifying client devices for Modbus, and I'm looking forward to seeing those published.
yes, I apologize. This is a typo. What was just finalized is SunSpec Modbus client compliance criteria.
There's another.
No, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. No, we did complete the SunSpec Modbus client test procedures. The next step is the test procedures for SunSpec Modbus for secure SunSpec Modbus. I'm confusing myself. Too many S's.
Got to get some acronyms. Dylan, there's another question in the chat. Could you say a little bit more about your comment that SunSpec will be developing updates to the 800 series models?
So it's actually an update to the storage application for SunSpec Modbus. So we're actually developing 900 series models that will supersede the 800 series storage models, and the 900 series, like I said, they'll supersede the 800 series and include support for modular energy storage applications for larger scale energy storage applications.
David, I see you have your hand raised. Go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, I wanted to take a moment. I realize we're a couple minutes ahead of schedule, so I wanted to throw in, since this is the annual meeting and we're not all in person and I can't stand up and embarrass everybody up there, I wanted to say thank you to the SunSpec staff, those that are presenting, those that have done the work, all the work you guys put in behind the scenes daily that is not seen. The slide that's up there right now about those working groups that all of us have participated in, for those that don't participate, come join us. Jay, Steve Kang, the guys that are leading these groups, there are weeks and weeks. Some of these have been open for over a year to get those through. So I can't possibly click the applause button enough times to stand up and clap. Thank you guys so much for all the work you do putting this together to make the SunSpec Alliance what the SunSpec Alliance is. So thank you guys.
Oh, well, thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Thank you for all your contributions as well. We have amazing leaders, but the bulk of the work, it all relies on the contributions and expertise of our member organizations, member companies, people like you, Dave. So it's all a collaborative effort for how we get from where we were to where we are now.
Hey, Dylan, there was another question in the chat about any interest in non-CSIP 2030.5 use cases.
Yep.
And I said there's tons of interest, but maybe you could expand on that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. There are multiple 23.5 profiles above and beyond the common smart inverter profile. So there's a metering profile that was published, that we published a while ago. I think it's in test status, contributed by Itron. There's also obviously CSIP Oz that Aaron touched on. There's the CSIP, or there's the 23.5 profile for SAE J3072, and also there will be a 20.5 profile for ISO 15118. So yes, there are multiple 23.5 profiles out there in the world, and that's one of our objectives in the test procedures work group, to develop broad 23.5 test procedures that can be used to develop profile-specific compliance criteria or testing criteria. And we're always keeping our ears open for any other 23.5 profiles that will require testing and validation.
Yeah, Vish is putting in the chat some other use cases. 2030.5 for heat pumps. I just heard about that today as well. Another use case is Flex Connect for data centers and dynamic operating envelopes.
Mhm.
And I have to say, if you are interested in Flex Connect and dynamic operating envelopes, please look at Vish's webinar
Yeah.
from this year. It
And
was
they'll be talking about that at 11:35 today as well with Uplight. So stick around for that. Any other questions or comments? All right, if not, well, the next up on the agenda is Kudrat will be providing us with an update on the software development related to SunSpec dashboard. So just to tee this up a little bit, a reminder, SunSpec dashboard is a piece of software that is included with SunSpec membership. Members of the Alliance have unlimited access to this tool. It is historically been exclusively focused on supporting SunSpec Modbus, supporting developers, implementers, and testers using SunSpec Modbus. Some of the stuff that Kudrat is going to be presenting today is that it has expanded its support for 23.5, including 23.5 device and server simulators, similar to how we've had a SunSpec Modbus simulated device available in dashboard for a few years now, and now includes also a 23.5 device and server simulator. She's also going to be showing us the built-in support for secure SunSpec Modbus. So it was only approved last week. We've already got functionality to support users and testers, people that are implementing secure SunSpec Modbus. She'll show us the SunSpec Modbus test PKI certificates, how to obtain those, again, for people who are going to be developing SunSpec Modbus interfaces for access and control over the public internet. Also, a new feature introduced in 2025 is test scripting functionality. So you'll be able to develop and write your own automated test scripts. And this scripting functionality works for both SunSpec Modbus and IEEE 2030.5. Also, we have a new feature for online licensing. For those of you who have used SunSpec dashboard before, as you know, it's access to dashboard is tied to your membership in the SunSpec Alliance. And so we've historically emailed you a license for that specific machine that expires, with your membership. And then whenever you renew your membership, you have to obtain a new license. So with this new online licensing feature, when your membership in your company pays its membership, we can just update that on the back end, and your access will be automatically extended. In addition, that this will allow you to not have to get a license for each individual machine that you have it installed on. Instead, you'll have your license user credentials, and you'll be able to sign into SunSpec dashboard using your credentials on any machine. And this functionality is in beta stage. One thing we're going to do is we're going to provide everybody here on this call today with a complimentary license. Well, if you're a member, you already have access to dashboard, and we'll just give you a license tied to your membership. If you're not a member, we'll be providing you with a temporary license. I know the holidays are coming up, so we'll set it to expire at the end of January. With this new version 3.8.9, the online licensing is there, but it is in beta, so it's got some kinks. So you're welcome to try it out, but ultimately, I encourage you to click the continue to dashboard function and apply the license as typical and go through the typical license request form process. Kudrat will show you how to do that. You'll go into the About section and obtain your dashboard ID, and then you'll go to this link right here to request a license, and then we will email it to you. And she'll take you through how to find your dashboard ID and apply the license appropriately so you can use it. So like I said, non-members here on this call today will receive a complimentary license that will expire at the end of January next year. So you can test this out. And with that, I'm going to pass it off to Kudrat to take you through these exciting new features on Dashboard.
Okay, thank you, Dylan.
Oh, and I see Dave. Did you have your hand up? Go ahead, Dave.
I think that's just for.
Oh, it's just left over. Okay, gotcha.
Okay. Hi, everyone. SunSpec Dashboard is a tool that has always been available to SunSpec members, and we try to maintain it with all the latest developments that happen, not just in our SunSpec work groups, but also listening to the market needs. As Erin highlighted, that there is a growing use and implementation of IEEE 2030.5, SunSpec Dashboard was updated so that we now have, along with SunSpec Modbus, the capability to test your 2030.5 implementations. So just to quickly go over the initial, the licensing that Dylan was talking about.
And
So
Kudrat,
when you open,
please zoom in to about 200% so we can see what's going on.
yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. So when you open Dashboard, this is the home page. You can go to Help and About to see what version of Dashboard you've downloaded. And to obtain the license, you would need the installation ID here. And this is the ID that you would send when you request your Dashboard license. When you send this to us, SunSpec will create the license file and send it to you. And you would just go down here to upload, update license, and you would upload your license file here and click update. When you click update, then you will see a message saying that the license has been successfully updated. Please close the dashboard. And that means both closing the browser and the splash screen. So you would have to close all of it and then
Yeah, I just want to
restart it.
highlight that. That's the number 1 issue that people have when they say their license isn't working. They only close the browser and they don't close the splash screen. So when you apply your license, make sure you close that splash screen.
Yeah.
Afterward.
And in addition to that, we have a user guide. So for detailed descriptions on how to implement different functionalities, you can access the user guide. And I'll talk about the simulators first. So as I mentioned, we added a IEEE 2030.5 server. So if you open that and you click on the top right, the settings icon, you can set up your server settings. So the IP address on which your server is running, the port, the pin so this should be client pin. We will update that. So the client pin, what's the poll rate for your DER program? You can also set up Wireshark path and your internet network interface here, but those are mostly used for CSIP testing, so you can leave them as is. The SunSpec dashboard comes with these default certificates, but you're free to click browse and select your own server and client certificates if you have them. The set end devices is a feature we've added to have the server communicate with aggregators. So if you have an aggregator, you would select yes, and then there's this device config file, which is a JSON file, which has the LFTI information of all the end devices that the aggregator would have. So this is still under development. So for a client, you would just set this to no. And you would just hit the green button to start your server. If we go back here and go to the DER simulator, so this is the same simulator we've always had with the SunSpec Modbus server, but now it also has a 2030.5 client. So if you go to the settings, we see that we have the simulator with these different simulation types. So you have PV three-phase, split-phase, single-phase, battery three-phase, split-phase, single-phase. You can also upload a JSON file, which is mostly used to kind of read your models and the points in it. And then you set up the Modbus port. Here's the encryption functionality that we were working on for the secure SunSpec Modbus specification. I will show this to you in a minute. And then we have the IEEE 2030.5 client. So you would enable that, you would set the server IP port, and then your certificates. So after you have done all your settings, you would start this. So the DIRSIM is going to start both the SunSpec Modbus server simulator and the IEEE 2030.5 client. So we can see it's adding these Modbus models, and you also have these CSIP logs. And if I go to server, I can see that the server and the client are talking to each other. And then you can go back to device, open. So this is where you connect to the SunSpec Modbus server. So you have the option of selecting a TCP RTU or a device file. So if you select a JSON file on the simulator side, you can select a device file. Currently, our simulator is TCP, so we'll keep that. IP address, port, unit ID, timeout. And then if you would have started your server with encryption, you would set this to yes as well. So you select open, and now it's connected to the server. So you can see all of the models. You will see there are these vendor-specific models here, and different companies usually, sometimes they have some settings that they want to read or write to, which may not be in the standardized 700 series models. So they can create vendor models in the same way that the standard models exist. So you would create a model definition, and then you would set up the instance where you have different values, and you would set them up. If you want to see your vendor-specific models in SunSpec dashboard, all you have to do is go to Tools, Model Directories, and add your model definition here. So once it's here, SunSpec dashboard can recognize it, and it will be visible when you connect your device. Okay, so these are our different simulators. The other thing we added is the scripting functionality. So this is an API to communicate with both the SunSpec Modbus server and the 2030.5 server. So there are some pre-existing scripts here that you can run. So
also, by the way, to connect to your real devices that you're developing and implementing, Kudrad is using our simulated devices for the purposes of demonstration here, but obviously you use this on your own 20.5 client, your own SunSpec Modbus device, etc. If you're developing your own SunSpec Modbus client, you're able to use the SunSpec Modbus simulator, or if you're developing your own client, you can use this to test your own 20.5 client, etc.
Yeah. And we had a case where one of the members had a gateway where the gateway one way talks to 2030.5 server, and on the other end it talks to a Modbus device. So what they would do is they would start the server, and they would start their own gateway that would talk to the server, and they would connect this device open to their Modbus device. So whenever they would make an update, they would use the scripting environment to make a change to the 2030.5 server, and then they would see the values update here on their Modbus device. So it's an interface for gateways as well, 2030.5 to Modbus or vice versa. So yeah, so you could set up these scripts. So there are some pre-existing scripts that you can run. Or you can also create your own scripts. And the way they work is like, here's a SunSpec constant power factor script. So if you run it, it's supposed to, so I wrote the constant power factor. So it's set to 900 in my script. I'm setting it to 0.94. So if you read it, it should update that. So instead of just coming here and writing every single value, you could just automate that. So you can have like multiple instructions here to set different values. And I can show you quickly how to do that. So if you go to your scripting environment and click on this plus button, and you give it a name and click on the right, the check button. The first thing you want to do is set up a target device, which and give it a name. And the two options you have is 2030.5 or SunSpec Modbus. So let's say we pick SunSpec Modbus. You would set all your settings, so where your device is, what port, and all of that. You would save that, and then once you have your device set up, you would select that, and you would select a command. So let's say you want to set constant power factor. You will set here the value, and then you can do a get. You can also get monitoring information, stuff like that. And when you're done with your script, you can make it as long as you want. Just click this X, and now you have your script ready. So if you run it, it should say that it's set it to 0.93. You do a get, it reads that it's 0.93. And then it's doing a get monitoring information. So you can see your the voltages, current, power factors, etc. And if we go back here, it's updated it to 0.93. So this is the scripting environment. And the same thing you can do with 2030.5. In 2030.5, we have the option to either write a default DER control or DER control. If you select DER control, you can state what should be the start time. So this is more like an offset. So if you write 60, that's 60 seconds from when the test starts, and then run it for 60 seconds. The aggregator group, like I mentioned, we're working on that part. So when you have an aggregator connected, you can actually write which group you want to write the control to. So then all the devices in that group would apply the control. If you leave the start time and duration empty, it would start the control whenever the client first receives it, and it would run it for the duration would be set for 1 day. So you have the option to choose that. And with that, I think I've covered everything. Oh, so let me quickly close this and show the TLS implementation. So when you set encrypt Modbus to yes, you will need to set up your certificates. If you go to the SunSpec by SunSpec 2 GitHub repository, we have some test certificates here. So if you go to SunSpec 2 tests and TLS data, we have the client certificate, client key, and client CA chain for the root. And we have the server certificate, server key, and server CA chain for the server. We also have a shell script here, create TLS certs. So you can actually create your own certificates by changing the inputs here. So by SunSpec 2 tests TLS data. So that's where all the certs are.
So that's how you get free non-secured test PKI certificates if you're developing and testing a secure SunSpec Modbus interface, whether that's on the client side or the device side. Do I have that correct?
Yes.
Great.
So here I've set the server certificates. So we're going to start this. And then you do the same thing on the client side, where you would set this to yes, and you would set your client certificates. And just to kind of see that it's using TLS, I'll start Wireshark. So when I hit open, we can see that it's using TLS, so it's a secure communication. And I think we have the Yeah, I think we have like one of the Cypher suites that is in the secure SunSpec Modbus specification being implemented here. We can add the other as well. But that's how you can implement your TLS implementation with SunSpec dashboard. Any questions?
Okay, great. Thanks, Kudrat.
Thank you.
All
If no one
right.
has any questions, we can move on here.
Yep. And I'll say I put in the chat the 2 links. The first link is to download and install the version 3.8.9 of SunSpec dashboard. That includes everything that Kudrat demoed. Like I said, you are welcome to give it a shot and try the online licensing functionality. But we have experienced some issues with, for example, like the 2-factor authentication. So most likely you're going to have to go the traditional route, and that's where you go to the second link I put in the chat to input your dashboard ID, and then we will email you a dashboard license. And as Kudrat demonstrated, you upload it there in the About section. Once you complete up the upload, then you make sure you close both the browser tab and the splash screen, and then restart it, and that's how your license will be activated and applied. And like I said, non-members, if you request this license today, we'll give you a complimentary license that will expire on January 31st. All right. So yeah, what we've gone through so far today, the first half of this annual member meeting is kind of an atypical, SunSpec, what you see from a SunSpec webinar. Normally, we're looking forward to, to new developments and thought leadership. When today we've given you so far a kind of a rundown of what's going on internally at SunSpec. So I think it's something that people don't often get the opportunity to learn, get all the full ins and outs. So I hope you found that valuable to learn more about us as an organization. We're going to take a break here so you can go get some coffee, do what you need to do. But when we come back, we are going to go back to more of what you typically hear from us when you join us for one of these online events, where we will look at the actual use cases and applications of these various standards and looking ahead to future standards development. So when we come back at 11:15 in about 30 minutes, we'll be hearing from Tom looking at the future of energy storage, data centers, V2G, and cybersecurity. So these are the kind of visionary future items and developments in SunSpec and in the industry that we'll be paying attention to and looking at standards applications. Followed by, after that, we'll hear from the Uplight team and Vish on new ongoing use cases and applications on 23.5 that's happening all over the world. So this will be more of the traditional SunSpec content that you're used to hearing, looking forward to standards development and applications. So with that, we'll go ahead and take a break. We'll stay in the line if anybody wants to have a conversation, ask any questions. But please do come back. We'll get started again at 11:15 to hear from Tom and then the Uplight team. Thanks, everybody.
All right, everybody. So I'm looking forward to speaking with you. So come on back after the break, and we'll take it home from here. Thank you.
Great, and feel free to use this time to network, chat, ask any questions you may have.
Yep. Totally hear Tom's voice as you're the next contestant on.
Exactly right.
That's me. Hopefully I won't get gonged off the stage.
That's what the copy's for.
All right, so hopefully you had a good break and you've come back to join us for the last 45 minutes. We'll be looking ahead with more typical SunSpec content, looking at member spotlights and future applications and use of standards and standards development. So with that, Tom, please take it away.
Thanks, Dylan, and thank you very much to the SunSpec team. So when we talk about the future and looking towards the horizon, sure, it includes storage, data centers, vehicle to grid, cybersecurity, recognizing critical loads, but also SunSpec itself. So I'm really proud that this year we've been able to complete the passing of the torch to the new generation. And so I'm really proud of this team. Younger, of course, smarter, I think, and more prepared to actually deal with the challenges that we have upcoming, which are those of really solidifying these standards and really driving adoption. So I want to first of all acknowledge the SunSpec team and what a great job they've been doing. So thank you for coming back. As a senior member of the team, I have the privilege to look forward and gazed in the crystal ball into the future. Now, of course, my view into this is always informed by interactions on the ground. This is how SunSpec has been successful, is really listening to customers and looking at these key trends. So let's dive in.
Looks like you exited full screen mode, Tom. You got to re-engage presenter mode.
Ah, okay, very good. Okay, so how do I do that?
Well, now you're not sharing it all anymore.
Not sharing it all. Okay. Okay. Can you see my second slide now?
Yeah, you just need to put it in presentation mode.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. Well, sorry for that interruption. All right. Well, let's dig in. So to begin with, what is the
Well, Tom, we're actually still looking at the title slide, and it's not in presenter mode.
So it's not working at all. All right. Got it. Let me stop and restart. Let me share the entire screen this time. You think I would learn how to operate this thing by now, but I haven't, clearly. All right. Great. Excellent. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Stephen, for the thumbs up there. All right.
You need to move your meeting window, which is blocking the slides.
Awesome. Okay. What else?
It's a system update, Tom. It wasn't you. They changed it.
All right. Oh boy, I'm kind of throwing off my game here, but let's start again. All right. So we're going to be looking to the future, and so all right, when we look to the future, one of the main signals that we need to really understand is what does the world around us look like, and the major megatrends that I see happening over the coming decade are listed here. One is that it's sort of game over in terms of adoption of distributed energy resources as it pertains to the power system generally and grid modernization. And so we cite the U.S. figure of 84% of all new power plants, including those in 2025, came from renewables. And actually, that was predicted based upon the priorities of the current administration. That was expected to tank and actually go far lower than that. But when you take a look at how the U.S. compares with the global picture, which the last report was about 93% of all new capacity coming from renewables, we're not that far behind. And one of the predictions, which I think is a little bit counter to what you may hear in the press here in the U.S., is that I think that we have the potential very quickly to come into parity with the rest of the world. And I'll get into the reason why as we go on. But suffice it to say that the economics of distributed energy and the resilience benefits of distributed energy are winning out, even though it comes at some risk with us with regard to new technologies and cybersecurity. The second big trend has to do with load expansion, and I've seen now that the electrical load expansion, even without AI data centers, which are barely beginning to be deployed now, is already expanded greatly. And 2025, I think, represents a new high watermark for load expansion. When you add AI data centers into that mix, where the workloads are increasing exponentially, and 9% of all the U.S. electricity consumption could be consumed by AI data centers by this period of time. Clearly, we have some work to do on loads. And one of the corollaries to this is that data quality and energy quality, power quality, are all really important in this context. The third megatrend is that the cybersecurity mandates that we have been anticipating for years now are coming to bear as global tensions have risen and as artificial intelligence in general has picked up. The cybersecurity threats have increased, and fortunately, we have regulators led by the European Union with the NIS2 and Cyber Resilience Act that have really caused the industry in the world to wake up. And now the NERC-CIP requirements as well, NERC-CIP 15, are falling into alignment with that to require interior monitoring of DER systems, and really of all sizes when you consider the virtual power plants and the like. And so this means that cybersecurity will be built into these types of future systems. So those are the three big trends that are driving the action. And so what does that mean? And so what it means is that the demise of distributed energy and batteries was certainly over-reported in the press, because we're now seeing distributed energy and batteries come up everywhere. And so why is this? Well, we have this massive load expansion, and which is causing problems with all elements of society, old people, young people, hospitals, critical infrastructure, etc. And with the best option being to build this new capacity being renewable energy, and given the time that it takes to build these types of systems, what we can anticipate is that we're going to see distributed energy really carve in or take over really some of the estimates that were otherwise forecast to go to unplanned natural gas or even nuclear. And the reasons are many, but really the main one is time to energy, time to power, right, has become critical. This is an issue that we can't wait around to address. And it needs to be addressed in 2025 and 2026 and beyond. And when you look at the supply chain constraints throughout these different types of energy, they're all highly constrained. One where the supply chain is built up and ready to go, of course, is renewables and storage. This is not to say that these other energy types will not be present, because they certainly will. They're being deployed now. And so you can anticipate that distributed energy is not just renewables, but it's anything that attaches to the distribution grid and that can be controlled by an inverter, which these days is almost everything. So you should expect to see that happening in a city and town, a data center happening near you, where we have a far greater reliance on batteries, whether those are combined with just a critical load, or even with a gas plant or a fuel cell and the like. But the primary power coming from solar and wind, other types, geothermal, other types of renewables, because that's the fastest and easiest to deploy, with, of course, the lowest fuel cost as well. So along with the need and the drive towards distributed energy, some new attributes of that type of a system that we haven't previously considered now come to the fore. And those two elements that I like to highlight have to do with, of course, power quality. And the second is with grid architecture, which is a proxy for that. I call a term redundancy. So redundancy within a grid architecture and within a system architecture is one of the big changes that we're seeing. So in years past, the architecture of these types of systems was quite minimalistic in nature, that designers would build exactly what was required and no more, no less. And of course, regulations more or less required them to do that. But with the loosening of these types of regulations and with the need for greater power quality, you are going to see double and triple or modular redundancy built into these types of systems. And again, that is a fundamental game changer. And so why are these elements required? Well, data centers, which draw this tremendous load and without mitigation can cause potential grid instability, they themselves require a high degree of reliability, 5 to 6 nines of reliability to be more precise. And so you can't get that without really focusing in on these two attributes of architecture and power quality. Building on that, we'll see, given our general reliance on energy and electrical energy to drive almost all aspects of life, what we can anticipate is more people waging more complaints or having to deal with the realities of outages costing them millions of dollars. Data centers being one of them, where you can expect that an outage might cost millions of dollars per minute to address. So there's penalties, there's revenue loss, there's reputational damage that all needs to be managed. And so with something like computing, which again, almost as fundamental as power takes primacy because you don't get computing without power. But our reliance is very heavy in that particular sector. And so this means that we need to improve on that quality. And so with regard to the redundancy, you can expect to see backup generation and batteries literally deployed everywhere, irrespective of fuel type. And again, synchronous generation and energy storage are two flavors that go very well together. So with regard to SunSpec, it's in our name that, of course, we have a heavy affinity towards solar and the sun, but we're about distributed energy and making society more resilient, and which leads to a better overall outcome for everyone. So with these types of generations coming in and the need to integrate them to make the whole system work, that'll be something that SunSpec takes on as well. The result of all this is that in 2030, you're going to see a grid that has more of the 5 or 6 things or 5 things that we have depicted here, plus microgrids, plus data communication, than any other components that have previously ever been put into the grid. So in other words, the grid is going to be unrecognizable and that the transformation will be complete. And I know that the power industry has generally hated analogies or comparison to computing, but I'll make one here. This is no less than the revolution that took place when we went from centralized computing to distributed computing. And I will note that it took about a similar period of time, which was that we had maybe a 10-year run-up where the architecture was challenged and then prototyped, the benefits were distributed, and then the transformation was complete. And I think by 2030 is the time that we will see that the endeavors that we're engaged in now, which are highly speculative, many people would think, in distributed energy, absolutely become the bedrock. Already in new power plant production, this change has already occurred, but I'm talking in the operation of the large-scale power grid. The experts there are still reckoning with what it means to take on distributed energy and manage it in the same way with the same or greater levels of reliability than they've seen before. So that is I think a very key payoff that we'll see here. It's great for the alliance, great for everything that we're doing. So shifting gears just slightly, and I know that this may seem like a bit of a repeat because we talked about a vehicle to grid and what we're doing there, but this is the fact that we're discussing SAE and V2G initiatives is just a reminder that, as a friend once told me, and I think this is true, and it's a learned truth for me, is that a successful standard, like fine wine, takes about 10 years to mature, and then and only then does it have a chance to be strongly appreciated and adopted. And so we've engaged on the a 10-year plan as it pertains to our core standards, and that paid out pretty well. We established SunSpec Modbus in 23.5 as the predominant communication interfaces for the grid. We started our vehicle and our e-mobility initiative a bit later. Probably about 2018 was really when we got started there. And so we had made an early effort. We produced the V2G AC profile. We did some pilot projects. Then it kind of went into dormancy. And then again, really within the last 6 to 9 months, we've seen tremendous interest in this standard, and not only from a deployment standpoint, but from a development and R&D perspective as well. Because these technologies, as they're being deployed, starting to run into the issues of what happens across geographic boundaries, because what happens in Europe or in Asia or in the United States isn't always the same. But however, each one of these areas of the world is making their own contributions and driving their own key elements of demand here as well. Because whereas we had a hiccup with regard to the rollout of e-mobility in this country, in the United States, that same hiccup has not been expected or has not been seen elsewhere. In fact, the electrification is continued apace. And so with that, the need to tap into these rolling batteries to help them both stabilize the grid and to enable the asset owners to fully monetize not only the mobility value of the vehicles, but also the power values of those assets as well, it still needs to be realized. And so what that means for SunSpec is that we are really at the beginning of our journey in V2G. We have the first V2G AC profile formalized, and it's now being rolled out. And on the heels of that, we're getting requests to integrate other protocols. And so what we see here is the typical V2G profiles, and actually V2G architecture. You have really two types: one, and where the intelligence is embedded in the charger, and one where the intelligence embedded in the vehicle. And both types are becoming very popular. And ultimately, though, I think that the car interface is going to be the more interesting one. But we have a tension in the marketplace in that we have this ISO standard, which is popular in Europe and actually in many parts of North America as well. It's actually mandated as the standard, but yet the adoption here has been a bit lower. But nonetheless, the cars are being shipped with that interface. And so SunSpec has been asked to adapt and drive that into the system. And so you heard earlier that this is a project that we're taking on now. And so the picture here and the story that I'm telling talks about the first step, or maybe the second step, then when we have these systems integrated. And then on top of this now complete architecture, we're able to overlay other use cases and profiles so that we can do those activities that I described, which is either support or participate in retail or wholesale markets. Now, This is not a new idea of participating in these types of markets. However, I would argue that it has not been technically feasible to do so because the plumbing hasn't been put in place. By plumbing, I mean the low-level protocols and communications that are required to support such an action. But SunSpec and others have achieved that goal, and so now what we see for the next several years is that we're going to finalize this and solidify this architecture that will then let these different market-making actions really come to the fore. All right, and so as I mentioned, right now the focus within the SunSpec group is on adapting ISO 15118 because, well, as is shown here, in the V2G AC architecture, the 2030.5 protocol runs on everything from the grid operator all the way to the car, to the vehicle, to the truck. Now, so I think I mentioned earlier, I was mentioned earlier that the SunSpec Modbus has been incorporated into the high power versions for vehicle charging. For medium duty and for heavy duty charging, SunSpec Modbus has been stipulated as the interface there. Then that goes into a standard from the SAE called 3068. So that's another key piece of the growth story here, is that we haven't talked at all about how trucks and buses, long haul freight haulers are going to interact with this grid. Well, one of the ways is with SunSpec Modbus, and this means that this will result in another very large energy draw that'll put additional stress on the grid. So clearly, when it comes to integrating that type of technology, we have a lot of work to do to make sure that the grid stays healthy and that everybody can do the jobs that they set out to do with their chosen technology. All right, so in the next couple of years, you'll see us really work on this ISO 15118, and that, I think, again, will set us up to do even more interesting things in terms of automation, not only just with regard to market automation, but with the consumer experience, customer experience types of automation or optimization that weren't dreamed of before. You know, autonomous vehicles, of course, are going to come into play here at the same time, which will open up even more opportunities. But I think you're going to see a lot of innovation in terms of consumer experience as these cars become even more electrified, and that user experience is exposed through these new capabilities that are enabled by these communication protocols. One final thing I'll mention about this V2G space is, with the plethora of communication standards here, at some point along the line, there is going to be a reckoning. For myself, I'm a communications expert. I've dedicated my professional career to working on these types of topics, and these types of translations, they can persist when the separation of concerns is such that different protocols are dictated. For example, how to operate a PV, or excuse me, a distributed energy system, versus having that distributed energy system communicate to the grid. There is a separation of concerns there, and so there's a reason for different protocols there. But for the same applications where you have 3 or 4 standards, there is going to be attention to consolidate all these interfaces, either through harmonization or through a merging of some type. Now, this is something that can't be anticipated as to timing, but in terms of what SunSpec can do in this realm is to really participate in these international standards bodies, and we'll talk about that a bit more, to make sure that we are playing nicely with the other protocols there and are being treated as international standards generally. So that's what's happening on the power front. Now, success, of course, breeds envy, and with that envy comes conflict. And so distributed energy, without a doubt, is the new cyber battleground. It is very easily seen by our nations, or any nation's adversaries, as this is quite an important target to take out. As they say, with regard to security objectives, you want to secure the power first, then the communications, then everything else from that. And so as we have a near domination clearly in the next few years for distributed energy, the focus here is going to be even more intense. Now, with all that said, our adversaries knew this, they've anticipated that, and many of them are already pre-positioned within our energy systems. And so this is not a question of will they be pre-positioned. I'm saying that they are right now pre-positioned in many of our energy systems. Sometimes they are identified and they are rooted out. Sometimes they're identified and you think that they're rooted out and they're not. Because they've already found a way to break in and blend in to the rest of the scenery and look like they're operating just like a normal participant in these systems. So this is a new reality for us that requires a change for how we think about cybersecurity, and one of assuming that you've been breached already and then achieving your goals for power quality, operating through compromise, delivering quality of service, or any of the other attributes that you need to be taken care of. So again, you'll see SunSpec then doubling down in cybersecurity to deal with this dynamic of adversaries that are already inside, living off the land, and looking to do us harm.
So Tom, we are just a little bit past time. I think you're almost wrapped up, but we do have one more presentation to go through.
All right, sounds good. I'll do my best to speed up here. I am almost done here, though. So with regard to the power risks, and I'll name them here. One is this malicious controls. So if you have an adversary on the inside looking like a regular worker, and when I say on the inside, they could be physically inside a plant, but also they could be inside your one's network where you think that they're a legitimate player. So where they can then exert these malicious controls and do data poisoning, which makes whoever you interact with not be able to rely on these types of systems. They can't really tell what you're doing at any time. You also have on-site primary power equipment trips. So if you want to cause havoc, set some backup power inside of a data center off and see what happens, because that then leads to the financial impacts that drive people crazy, measured in millions of dollars per minute, and protection state tampering. So the Iberian Peninsula is an example of that, is that you had a power quality changes that occurred were out of bounds, and well, there's no proof that there was protection state tampering, but in other words, the controls were exerted, had the effect of that, and so that could lead to bad things, most likely to blackout. So these are things that we have to stay on top of and continue working on. This is just a quick example. I wanted to try to give an easy example for people to understand about the nature of the cyber risk. So imagine, if you will, you had a large load. Either let's say you're in a hospital or a data center. And so you have your own power generation. Yes, you're connected to the grid, but you're providing a significant portion of your power from self-generation resources. Now, based upon the time of day, how much power you need. Now, so an attacker then, understanding your patterns, they come and falsify the data about how much power that you have. And then when the targeted attack occurs, that can lead to the second step, which is you have a power reduction from the utility, and that's because in case that this nameplate capacity for your internal generation was reduced. But then once you have that power reduction from the grid itself, that becomes out of balance with the amount of power that you have, which then leads to this tripping behavior and the lights go off. So that in a nutshell is what we're trying to protect against, and which is one of the key risks of operating these systems where you have both current local generation and grid generation, and with an insecure or less than optimally secured network where adversaries can get in and do these sort of basic things that cause the lights to go dark. All right, I am wrapping up.
Okay, good. Yeah, because we need to
I
get
am-
these.
I'm wrapping up now. So thank you. So in 2026 and beyond, you're going to see us sustain our investment in all the things what we've been doing so far. Slightly different features, but again, this is a long-term cyclical 10-year operating plan. So you'll see in more investment in inverter-based resources with an emphasis on loads and new application profiles. We're looking at topics right now like Flex Connect, dynamic operating envelopes, microgrids, which are a new fundamental building block in the architecture that becomes very important for us. And to achieve all this, we need to maintain our fundamental research programs with the research institutes and universities. You'll see us with increasing investment in cybersecurity, and I'll point out a few topics here. One is crypto agility. So
We're really running low on time here. We're not going to have enough time for the next presentation.
All right. Well, I'll wrap it up here then. You'll work on cybersecurity simulation, what you've seen before, because we have a need to pre-design, pre-test these systems before they're built. We are harmonizing with the IEC standards and the ISO standards and the SAE, anticipating that there will be a time when harmonization needs to occur. Open source, we've talked about that, Orange Button Alliance and LF Energy, and geographic expansion. So what we've done is just the tip of the iceberg. All right, with that, thank you very much.
Thanks, Tom. Next up, we're going to hear from Vish and the Uplight team to talk about 23.5 and the blog post that just recently came out yesterday. Sam or Aaron, if you could pop that link in the chat, and we'll pass it off now.
Thank you so much, Tom and Dylan and the rest of the team. Super excited to share our blog post. First up, I want to introduce, I'm not going to be doing most of the talking. It's going to be Sneha and John, but I'll moderate this. Just as a fun fact, I was at AutoGrid, which is now Uplight after the merger. So I actually planted the seeds for 23.5 about 4 or 5 years ago. The journey was just getting started around the time with the server development, but I think it's all done, and you'll hear more about it from Uplight. So with that, I want to bring in the speakers, have them share their thoughts on what they're doing, what they're up to, and what they see is the future of 23.5 at Uplight, and also we'll have some comments later on. Take it away, Sneha and John.
Thanks, Vish. And hey, everyone, nice to be here. This is my first annual meeting. So I've worked with Vish at AutoGrid, and really thankful to his leadership to see this continued, planting the seeds of IEEE 2030.5, because I feel like this is the right time, and we'll walk you through why. So as Thomas said, the distribution grid.
Yeah, are you sharing your screen? Sorry, I don't think we can see it. We still see the speakers.
Sorry. Can you
maybe Dylan, I think if you stop sharing, Dylan, maybe Sneha can go ahead and share the screen.
Okay.
Can you see my screen now?
Yeah, perfect.
Awesome. So at Uplight, we're a DERMS provider. That's one of the many hats we wear. And, this particular topic of IEEE 2030.5 really piqued my interest when I was speaking to Vish, because I'm in implementation, and, when we get scope of work documents and say, implement a VPP, there are 10,000 different ways of defining what a VPP is, or even defining what fleet management stands for and things like that. So having a standard is really something I'm excited about, because I feel like we need more of this to kind of come together, understand, implement, and reduce efficiencies, and actually make progress from moving over pilot programs to actual real scale programs. And so we are at an interesting place in the industry where distribution grids were designed as one-way delivery networks, but today we have to handle bidirectional power flows, which they were never built for. And building new utility generation is very slow, expensive, and pushes customer bills higher. We're feeling it, and it's been outpacing inflation for years. And so we really, the fastest way, at least in my mind, to the most affordable path is to really tap into these DERs using open interoperable standards so that millions of devices can deliver reliable value exactly when and where it's needed. And I think we're seeing more of that in the industry as well. But unfortunately, we're still locked into single programs. The thought of expanding into multiple programs with the same assets and multi-value stacking is starting to happen. So that's something that we're excited about. But that's why, we believe that when IEEE 2030.5 comes in applied, which John will speak about, that will really set the tone of that universal language that our industry needs to deliver value. And so why does this really matter now? Because we are at a point where this cannot be a future state discussion anymore, right? The grid is under extreme stress. Incremental fixes will not be enough. No patchwork can be done. And so really what makes this moment different is that the barriers that once slowed progress are coming together to force that next set of innovation. And what are the three factors that I can think about? One is technical readiness, which is that the technical foundation is ready. The industry has proved that it can move beyond pilots. And utilities and markets around the world are already operating grids with high penetrations of inverter-based resources. The economic imperative is that economics is actually forcing this issue. Because like I said, utilities are forced between, they don't have a way out. They have to use the existing assets. I think someone's speaking out there.
No.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. And so it's really more than an economic decision that's forcing us to tap into these DER assets. And then the third is the regulatory framework is now beginning to align with this reality because they've realized that DR programs and VPP programs that are, typically siloed and static in nature have not got the enrollment numbers that they expected. And so they're looking to break down barriers and increasingly focused on the resilience, affordability, and reliability of the grid. And California Energy Commission is also putting together policies in place to force that direction forward. So we're really at this critical but important place in the industry where decisions are being made today around architecture, interoperability, and how flexibility is operationalized. And so that's what we do now is what will dictate how our grid functions in the next decade. And what makes IEEE 2030.5 different from the other protocols I worked with? First, it is vendor agnostic. So I think it will help speak the same language. We aren't locked into proprietary ecosystems and custom integrations that are expensive and inefficient. And the second is it really supports that value stacking. So when in a place where, where interconnections take a long time, we have to maximize the existing assets. And so using the same assets for different purposes throughout the day to provide that multi-service participation is what I'm really excited about. And third, like Thomas mentioned, it needs to be secure and scalable. So because the grid is often a target for hackers, and so being important infrastructure, it needs to be secure and scalable. So as a DERMS provider also, the real-time operational benefits that I see are, things like dynamic pricing that's gaining traction in the market for EV managed charging, network congestions, and basically using the same assets for different programs, so multi-program designs as well. So that's what makes me excited. But what made me the most excited is I went to John with all of this information and I'm like, hey, have you read this standard? And he's like very coolly saying, yeah, we're working on it and we have it almost ready. So I'll pass it on to John to share what we have here with you.
Thanks, Naya. Yeah, we kind of came at this from two different angles. I've been working in the trenches with the development team to get this implemented, and Sneha is kind of looking at the broad industry perspective on this. So hopefully this presentation will give you a little bit of both. First, I wanted to start off by saying this is where the rubber hits the road, right? Like we've actually got a product that we're delivering in Q1 of 2026. So what I put together here to show is where all this fits in the value stack for grid management. So we are the Flex product in the middle in this gray module, and that's where kind of a lot of the optimization magic happens, things that are proprietary to Uplight. We manage the DERs. We can dispatch them in coordinated fashions and do those kind of predictive optimizations. And then on either side of Flex are the two products that we plan on releasing in 2026. The one that we're releasing in January is the 2030.5 server piece. That's the piece that Vish began a project on 3+ years ago, and we're finally delivering on that. We've got it integrated with Flex, and it's multi-tenant, and it's robust, and it's secure, and all those things. That's going to give us, the ability to talk to other 2030.5 clients and devices and DERs. But above Flex, we plan on implementing an aggregator client piece for mid-2026 that will give us the ability to talk the same language as the grid DERMS, and have kind of an open standard on the upper level where we can easily integrate with new grid DERMS as they come along. So we're really excited about both these products. So next slide. I know we're running out of time, so I'll be as quick as I can. What we see as a benefit for Uplight and all this, are the open standards. Obviously, open standard for the server gives us the ability to have zero development and zero lead time to get a new device integrated. Right, that's really critical for what we do. We often get clients come along and say, "We've got a new CNI battery we need to integrate. How are we going to do that?" This gives us a really quick way to do that. And it allows us, because of that, it allows us to integrate the long tail of devices that are out there in the industry, and there are more coming all the time. On the other side, on the upper level of Flex, having that standard interface allows us to integrate with lots of integrated DERMS, and we have a couple of partners that we're integrating with as we speak. And then within Flex, the piece that Flex adds, the cream of this 2030.5 cookie, is the ability to speak the same language as the grid DERMS does in order to have that fully integrated DERMS capability, and then to be able to group those DERs into topology-aware nodes like feeders or substations, and be able to predict the flexibility at any point in the next 24 to 48 hours, and then be able to offer that up through 2030.5 to the grid DERMS and have them request some of that availability as needed, at which point we then optimize and dispatch to those DERs. And we do that through the 2030.5 server and other ways too. We can also expose other DERs that aren't 2030.5 through Flex up to the aggregator client, and still be able to dispatch those as if they were 2030.5 assets. So really, really exciting, and it's a great fit between Flex and 2030.5 on both sides to kind of give us that standard interface to be able to really fit in well with the rest of the industry.
First of all, John, congratulations on getting this far and getting your product out. It's exciting to see things come to fruition. And standards are never meant to be so easy or hard. Like, they take time to mature. And, you know, can you talk to a little bit about, you know, in Applied, you guys use OpenADR quite regularly for a lot of use cases. Why this and why now? You know, from what I understand, this topology awareness and the reconfiguration of the network, or what's called static grouping to dynamic grouping with, you know, substations, feeders. That is the impetus of why this makes such a big sense and timeliness for you guys.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the idea of topology awareness is built right into 2030.5. And so it's a really easy lingua franca between the grid DERMs and us. And we can translate that directly into, you know, grouping, auto grouping that we now do in Flex. And we can, and then, you know, the optimizer does its thing on the auto groups, and then that translates really nicely downstream to whatever device we want to handle, whether it's an OpenADR device or a 2030.5 device. Yeah. So we see this as a really great fit for the grid going forward. The integrated DERMS is a really big use case for us, where we see a lot of opportunity to partner with the big players in the integrated DERMS and the grid DERM space. So yeah, we're really excited about that.
Great. And can you also talk a little bit about how you envision going from the day ahead events? Most of when we hear VPPs and demand flexibility, we're talking day ahead scheduling. It's like setting a calendar invite on somebody's calendar, right? But from that to more higher value streams, faster response use cases, all the way to like hour ahead. And Sneha, you talked about pricing. Today, CSIP inherently does not have pricing built into the CSIP requirements, but 2030.5 more broadly supports pricing, dynamic pricing function set. So that allows you to send prices to device or even ingest prices from upstream utilities so that you can optimize for various competing, value streams, I guess. Can you speak a little bit about how you see that evolution? What are your customers asking from that day ahead to more faster response, and where you see this coming together with 2030.5?
Sure. A lot to digest there. One thing I would say is, yes, we're definitely seeing the need to respond more quickly, and we need these optimizations to take into account the latest data, right? So AMI data tends to be a day late or maybe 2 days late. So not the best feedback loop. And so what we're trying to do in Flex is integrate more and more of the telemetry data, which can pretty accurately reproduce what's happening and what the effects are of our device dispatches in the grid, right? So, you know, runtime for thermostats can be pretty easily translated on a probabilistic basis to to kilowatts saved. So that's one thing that we're doing a lot of optimization on. We have what we call predictive controlled dispatch, where we can flatten out the curve on thermostats and make that a really reliable power source, as opposed to where it tends to be really great the first hour and then slowly lose its effectiveness over the time of the event. So that's the kind of thing we're shooting for. We're shooting for flat contribution, so we can really emulate the VPP, the typical power plant, and in the best way possible. And then having that quick feedback loop with telemetry allows us to get even better optimizations. We can do load shaping in 2026, and that all feeds back into quick dispatch times that are definitely possible with 2030.5.
Yeah, awesome. Sneha, I have a question for you. You worked on microgrids, both on the vehicle-to-grid type of microgrid fleet, V2G chargers, as well as CNI microgrids. One of the problems that you and I talked about in the past was the problem of over-optimization, right? for simple use cases, you end up putting so much math into the equation so that you're over optimizing. How do you see 2030.5 simplifying that problem where you don't have to optimize because a lot of these features or functions are already predefined? So as you work with your data engineers and data scientists and your optimization team, how do you see this simplifying that whole architecture for you?
Yeah, I think the one thing I like about the IEEE 2030.5 is within its capabilities, it also has this decision-making ability to kind of say, okay, all of these priorities are coming together. How do I prioritize? And kind of predefine those priorities and act on it. Because a lot of times what happened and why I really like that about the IEEE is optimization is not just complicated, it's a black box, right? So you can only see the output of the optimization. You can't see the decision-making process it went through to make that decision. And I think with how the IEEE is standard is designed, you can see that decision-making, and you can also figure out or know exactly what will happen because of those predefined priorities set.
I think what Sneha is talking about is the primacy concept that's built into the protocol that allows you to stack different use cases natively. So that is not a black box hard-coded optimization or problem, but it is built into the standard itself. And then you take the economic value streams and optimize for the exact power set points and adjustments that are needed, which creates the value. Awesome. I know we're a little over time. Would love to see if anybody has questions or thoughts or any parting remarks from the rest of the team. But thank you so much, Neha and John. This is really exciting. We really want to support you guys in the journey and adoption. And we think as a big player of DERMS and in this space, and also working with Schneider Electric, you guys are doing a great job in pulling this together. Congratulations. And for others as SunSpec members, these are the opportunities to spotlight some of the great work that you're doing in this space, with respect to SunSpec standards. Also very excited for 2026 with Secure SunSpec Modbus. This is a new evolution from where we are today with Modbus, which is inherently insecure. So we're going to see a lot of activity around that. So we're looking for early adopters and testers in the field. So come talk to us.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Vish, for the opportunity, for planting the seeds, and John for carrying on that baton and getting us to where we are today. So.
Thank you. And I see that Aaron has posted the blog in links, so feel free to grab that, folks.
Awesome. Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Back to you.
Thanks so much, guys. This is really great. It's a great wrap up and conclusion to the annual member meeting, because we start talking about ourselves and the structure of the alliance, and we can look at the future impacts, what we're looking at. But with this presentation highlighting Uplight's work, we're really looking at where the rubber is hitting the road, like John said, looking at the real world applications, rollouts, and benefits to real companies, and how we're unlocking new revenue streams and values for the grid and for the community at large. So thanks so much for your presentation here today. And to everybody else, thanks so much for your time at this virtual annual member meeting. It's been a pleasure. It's been a great year, and I hope that you all have a great holiday. Take some time off to rest, spend some time with family, and we'll see you all in 2026 and get back to work. I'm looking forward to it. Thanks, everybody.
Happy holidays.
Thank you. Happy holidays, everyone. Take care. Good job, guys.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.